Hey guys, I've had a few people ask about calculators or if there's an online calculator that might be helpful. I know you don't have graphing calculators at home, which makes this a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to show you two sites today that I think will help you. The first is Desmos. If you just type that into Google, you can go right here to graphing calculator, or if you just type in Desmos, this second one right here, the graphing calculator, that's what you want. So click on that. This is like your y equals in your calculator. So let me hide these real quick. So up here is where you would type your equation. So maybe you want to type y equals, let's do x squared plus 3x minus 4, just for an example. Right, so you can hide your keyboard. You can see this graph here. You can pinch to zoom out. You can zoom in. Be careful when you zoom. Make sure you're looking carefully at these numbers here. This is not 2, it's actually 1 because it's halfway between 0 and 2. Just something to be careful of. And then you see it just automatically graphs. So you can point right here. It tells you what that point is. Those would be your roots or your x-intercepts. This would be your y-intercept. This would be your vertex. So it gives you a lot of information just looking at the graph. Now, if you need to add a second graph, let's say maybe you're comparing graphs. If you go over here, you can kind of faintly see a 2. Click right under it, and then you can type another equation. Let's do y equals x squared, just your parent function. So now you can see it's got both graphs on the same thing. Color codes them. So this would be the red one, this would be the blue one. So you can compare them. And then there's some other information too. So let's say I wanted to do this one, but I wanted to look at it as a table. Okay, so this first one, I'm going to click on it. And then up here, the little gear says edit list. If you click on that, it gives you some different options here. So right here, if I do convert to table, it'll change it into a table. And that way I can get some points right here. So that's one way you can use this calculator. Now the second one, let me show you another one. This one's a little bit more complicated. So it's Wolfram Alpha, and you can see it pops up. This one's more of a complicated calculator. It's a little bit harder to type in sometimes. So let's do that same equation. Y equals x. Now to do squared, you got to use it kind of like your calculator. You got to do this little caret and then 2. So, or you can click on this one and then we can keep going. Plus 3x minus 4. And then I'm going to hit enter. So it's working. Now this gives me some different information. Not a great graph, but you see, you can kind of scroll over it. You can see points. What it does do is it gives you your roots or your zeros. So if I go back to that last one, let me get rid of this graph. Remember, your roots are where it crosses the x-axis. So this crosses at 1 and -4. And if I go to this other calculator, it tells me -4 and 1 would be my roots or my zeros or my solutions. I'm not sure it'll give you, I'm not sure if it does much on that one. I think you have to pay for the rest of that, but it will tell you your roots. The other thing it tells you here is your domain and range, which a lot of times is kind of difficult to understand. So the domain is all real numbers, and then the range, you can see they've got it different ways. This is probably the way you'll understand it better. The y's are greater than or equal to -25/4, whatever decimal that is. All right, so sometimes I'll give you a little bit more information, but for quadratics, that's pretty much all this one will do, because it's a parabola and kind of gives you a hint of what it looks like. Anyway, there's 2 calculators that might help you to do your work.